Serious, what is a documentary that blew your mind? Ken Burns' The Vietnam War. It should be seen in every history classroom in the US. One of the most comprehensive and horrifying documentaries I've ever seen. Soldiers on both sides, diplomats, spies, and citizens who were caught in the middle share their experiences and perspectives. US education doesn't come close to painting a clear picture of the war. What a tragic waste of life. That era was so monstrously f***ed up that anyone who watches it will think, today isn't so bad. Double quote. As the New York Times put it, the documentary will break your heart and win your mind. Double quote. I watched his World War II and Vietnam documentaries back to back. What was the most interesting was the tonal difference between the two. With World War II, even with all the horrible things that happened, you could tell that the interviewees were proud of what they had accomplished and knew what they were fighting for. In Vietnam, you could tell that they were ashamed and agreed that it was a mistake. The story that got to me the most was from World War II. A Marine was talking about a mission where they were looking for some missing Marines. They found them in a clearing, all mutilated in various horrific ways. He just stared off camera and said, "We didn't take any more prisoners after that." Double quote. They shall not grow old. Incredible World War I remastered footage. Agreed. I saw it in the cinema with my dad's girlfriend's father, who's interested in history like I am, and we were both just amazed when it transitioned from the original film to the remastered versions. I also like how all the narration was from the archived interviews of the World War I soldiers. Free Solo is one of the craziest things I've ever seen. If you haven't already, you should also watch The Dawn Wall. It's another fantastic documentary about climbing El Capitan, and how one of the best big wall climbers ever became the first person to climb a new route up El Cap. A route which is widely considered to be one of the most technically difficult climbs on the world. It's available on Netflix. I climb as a hobby, and when I tell new people they always say, "Have you seen Free Solo?" Every time. I have no idea how much time Honold has on this earth. My partner has been climbing for over 3 decades and has known a lot of free solo guys, and every single one has died. And these are skilled climbers. As a climber, that movie made me too anxious. My Octopus Teacher on Netflix. I knew that the octopus are pretty smart, but the documentary took it to another level. The documentary was based on this guy who went diving every day for 300+ days to befriend an octopus and earn her trust. He recorded the octopus playing with fishes, develop hunting strategies, etc. The octopus even wanted scritches from him. Amazing cinematography too. 10/10 would recommend. Planet Earth is really an incredible series. There isn't a single episode that didn't leave me speechless at some point. Icarus, Russian state-sponsored cheating. This one was such a f***ing ride. Imagine going from simply trying out doping to see if you could win a small biking competition to literally uncovering one of the biggest doping scandals in Olympics history. Don't FCK with cats was a pretty insane ride. Did they ever show actual cats being hurt? I can't bring myself to watch it because I'm afraid of what gore might be in there. I mean, Tiger King took quite a bit of processing power to mentally get through. It happened. Tiger King was great because it started out normal, but each episode just got weirder and weirder. By the end, all I could think was, too much happened and almost all of it was crazy. The Last Dance. I am the most marginal basketball fan ever, and I was riveted by this show. Damn near perfect, but 2 flaws. 1. The whole movie portrays Jordan as this near mystical figure who can do no wrong and can bend logic and matter with his mind to make him right when he was wrong. Also portrays his extreme gambling addiction as cute little personality quirks. 2. Ended way too abruptly. Apparently they had to rush it to a close due to COVID, but still way too fast of a finish. The Bridge. The filmmakers document people jumping to their death from the Golden Gate Bridge. One of the most depressing films I've ever seen. As someone who's struggled with suicidal ideation, This documentary always convinces me never to follow through on those urges. Many. But most recently American Murder. The Family Next Door. I remember reading about it in 2018. So I knew the outcome, who murdered whom. But I had no knowledge of the details. I've met pathological liars in my lifetime. Yet it still blows my mind, to answer the question, that people truly think they can get away with blatant and obvious lies. It's laughable when murder isn't on the table. The documentary was well edited using pre-recorded data. So it felt more chilling to me. The thing that got me about this case was how small the motive was, murdering your wife and children to be with your mistress. And what the f***ing idiot the guy is. It was so obvious that it was him from the first minute he appeared on camera. The polygraph woman played him like a fiddle and he genuinely came across as intellectually hindered. Immediately after murdering his pregnant wife and toddler children, and stuffing the children's bodies down an 8-inch hole into an oil tanker, degloving one of them in the process, he listed his house for sale and called the preschool to have them unenrolled. He then proceeded to speak to the police without a lawyer. Like dude. This is murdering your entire family 101. The documentary also completely skipped that the couple were bankrupt. Up to their eyeballs in debt. And that Shannon was balls deep in a predatory MLM scheme. It was crazy to see all that body cam footage and watch as it unfolded in real time. In her Facebook videos you can see the issues in their marriage front and center, although it kind of skipped over their financial issues. They had missed multiple mortgage payments in the months prior and their credit was in the tank. It's honestly really uncomfortable to watch. Especially knowing what happens. Watching them go from a fairly happy couple to them hating each other was chilling. The part where the neighbor shows the security camera footage to the cop is absolutely chilling. He has absolutely no emotion. He just starts trying to explain away what they're seeing. Watching him lie despite the video evidence of what happened is just crazy. It's a well done and chilling look at how the relationships deteriorated and the murders unfolded. Although a lot of details about their finances and arguments in the years prior were left out. 3 Identical Stranger. This was f***ing crazy. Fascinating and equally horrifying. Everyone should watch. The Imposter, 2012. About a boy who went missing in Texas. Then a young man from Spain makes the claim he's the missing boy 3 years later. Despite an accent, different colored eyes, hair, etc. And the family supports the claim. But there's more to it. One of those stories that if it weren't true, no one would believe. This was so insane. I was watching it alone. And had to keep exclaiming what? I don't believe this. It was so hard to understand how that could happen. I'm surprised no one has talked about blackfish. Really opened up my mind to what SeaWorld and zoos in general do with animals in captivity such as orcas. Only went to SeaWorld once when I was 17 and I'll never go again. Agreed. I'm not from the US but I always wanted to go. Until I saw blackfish. Evil. Lying. Cruel bastards for treating living creatures like that. The mama whale calling for her calf was heartbreaking. To this day I want to torch that place to the ground and throw the people responsible in a bottomless pit. The Devil We Know. I got rid of everything Teflon. My bad. Folks. It's we not you. I corrected the title. Teflon killed 2 of my baby Hanford parrots years ago. Before we knew it was dangerous. My dad had gotten the new pots and pans set from JCPenney and was so excited. They were dead a couple of hours later and he was so upset he didn't return it but rather just threw it out onto the curb. You would think they would have banned the stuff. But they only banned the brand name in the US. The chemical involved is still legal and still widely used in non-stick pans. Our taxi driver last week was telling us that he lost his umbrella cockatoo to Teflon and how much he missed her. Jiro dreams of sushi. I always thought making sushi was kind of a lazy art because it's really just a rice ball and uncooked fish. But it was awesome to see someone who put so much dedication to the art and seeing that sushi is quite a complex art if you do it right. It made me really appreciate those who specialize in any field. Highly recommend this one. That is the beauty of sushi. With so few ingredients, rice and fish, the technique becomes paramount and you can't really hide any off flavors. So everything has to be quality. That was the worst thing about coming back from Japan. I have a hard time eating sushi here in the US. As unless you have had an omakase in Japan, you can't really say you have had authentic sushi. 13th on Netflix. My dad has recommended it to numerous people to help them understand the BLM movement and it's changed some minds. The New Jim Crow, Mass Incarceration in the Age of Colorblindness is a dope book as well. Grand read. Tickled. It starts out making you think it's going to be a quirky but largely forgettable story of a very niche world that you simply weren't aware of. It ends up being one of the best arguments for the estate tax ever. The Jinx and Dear Zachary. OMG. I bawled my eyes out over Dear Zachary. A couple of years ago I was telling my friend about it and proceeded to pull up the trailer. My dudes. I started crying over the damn trailer. This documentary is the saddest one I've ever seen. I do recommend it to doc lovers but cautiously. Just last night, I watched David Attenborough's newest film, I Life on Our Planet. Attenborough calls off his witness statement in which he shares his concerns regarding climate change and describes his personal experiences seeing the destruction of our planet over his 90 years. It was a fantastic documentary, and I would very much recommend it. He is one of my favorite people. I had a hard time watching it because you could see the sadness and disappointment in his eyes. I definitely had tears most of the way through. It was so eye-opening and so unsettling for me but so beautiful at the same time. I have recommended it to everyone. I have always taken steps to reduce my footprint. But I'm going to encourage others and push myself to be even better because of his words. How to Die in Oregon. Watched it once and had the most emotional reaction to any doc movie I've ever seen before. Can't watch it again. But I would highly recommend that you check it out. In my opinion, society should extend much grace and mercy to terminally ill people who wish to live, or not, on their own terms. Documentaries are kind of tricky because they're usually biased from some perspective, but I always thought the classic Bowling for Columbine, 2002, blew my mind and it still had relevance today. Oh man. I saw that in the theater. And turns out, they used footage from my high school in it. That's a weird f-king feeling. To be hearing about the over-militarization of education while looking at a video of the main entrance to my school. Abducted in Plain Sight and Capturing the Freedmans. It really blew my mind while I was watching those insane family dynamics. The stupid decisions and the way they justify, deny or try to normalize such insane behavior. I still wonder how on earth they managed to get everyone involved to talk about it on camera. I don't know if I would say it blew my mind. But Abducted in Plain Sight definitely pissed me off more than any documentary I've ever seen. Those idiots should have had their children taken away from them after the first time she was abducted. Murder Ball, 2005. Maybe not mind-blowing so much as eye-opening. This documentary was, at times, really tough for me to watch. But it helped me confront and overcome my own preconceptions about the wheelchair-bound. Manufacturing Consent. It dissects the motives of news organizations as advertisers rather than being of public interest. It also contrasts the coverage of allied atrocities with enemy atrocities. It blew my mind in that it covered content that is relatively obvious but never seemed to cross my mind without being explicitly stated. Zeitgeist. Honestly, I watched that when I was young. Maybe 13-14. And if I was to watch it today I'd probably think it was some conspiracy theory bible of sorts and I doubt that I'd be as blown away by it now. But I credit that documentary to me not believing in religion or in a god anymore. I wonder whether I ever would have come to the same conclusion without ever watching it now that I think about it. One Child Nation rocked me. Horrifying accounts of China's one-child policy and how they brutally enforced it. Blue Planet. It just makes you think we are not just a planet, we are much more a home for billions of beings, so salute for Sir David Attenborough. Anything by Werner Herzog, but specifically Grizzly Man. A very sad and strange and unbelievable account of a man who lived in the wilderness among grizzly bears. Some documentarians would romanticize the situation, but Herzog's blunt and completely unromantic commentary makes it amazing. Super Size Me. I didn't eat McDonald's for 10 years after watching that documentary. A guy force-feeding himself when not hungry convinced you not to eat McDonald's? Because that is literally all that pile of shitty excuse for a documentary that's really just a reality show teaches. Compliance. I actually watched the film Dramatization first, not knowing it was based on reality, and spent the film complaining it was ridiculous and far-fetched. No one could be that stupid. A whole restaurant staff. All this moronic? No. It's too much. Then I found there was a documentary and watched that. If anything, the real people were even more dribblingly cretinous than the film made them seem. Amazed me. A BBC documentary called The Death of Yugoslavia. It's on YouTube. I'm European and I constantly hear politicians and pundits talk about how the Western world is the epitome of peace and democracy. It was eye-opening for me to see this 6-part series depicting in excruciating details the horrors that happened on the European continent less than 30 years ago. Give it a watch. It's really good, be warned. There is a lot of brutal original footage though.